Hey everybody, it's me, Drew, from the groups. I promised you guys a video, so let's get started. Tonight for dinner, I'm going to be making lobster mac and cheese with red lentil noodles. I'm sorry, green lentil noodles, not red. If you need help, well, here they are. Now, it says here on a package they've got loads of fiber. That's the base of the carbohydrates in it is fiber, which is not absorbed. And let's see, 21 grams of protein per serving, and serving says it is about 3 ounces. That would be cooked, not dry. And so yeah, let's get started. I'll name the ingredients and by measurement and what they are as I add them to the meal. Start out with about 3/4 of a cup of our noodles straight into boiling water. Now, as the saying goes with any noodle, you want the water that the noodles are being cooked in to be as salty as the ocean. You, of course, want to be cutting that back by almost 3/4%. You're just adding salt into the water to season the noodles. That's the only purpose of that. So now we're letting our noodles cook. I'm going to come over here and bring our small pot up to temp to start making our cheese sauce, which is about 4 ounces of the Velveeta and about a teaspoon of minced garlic and half a cup of whole milk. And that is the pretty much the gist of any cheese sauce for macaroni cheese that you would be making at home from scratch. Season it with salt and pepper, of course, to taste. I recommend doing this after it is cooked because there is a lot of sodium in the Velveeta. Okay, feels like that's coming up to a warm temperature. Add your milk first, because that will be your liquid melting your cheese. Cut this back. You don't want it to boil out. Cut your Velveeta up into chunks about 1 by 1 inch. They don't need to be very small at all. Although saying that, the smaller you do cut them, the quicker they melt. And you want to keep an eye on that because if it gets too hot too quick, the milk will start to burn on the bottom of the pot. Forgot a utensil. Now this video is going to be a little bit long because I don't have any editing software. So it is what it is. So you can cook right along with me. It's probably going to take just as long. Let's go ahead and bring our lobster water, the water for our lobster, up to temp. It's going to be the quickest to cook. Lobster, just like with any crustacean like lobster, crab, and crawdads and what have you, as soon as they get a bright red, fire engine red color, they're done. As soon as that color gets there, stop cooking it, take it off the heat, because if you overcook seafood like lobster, crab, or shrimp, or any seafood except for fish, of course, it does get pretty chewy. And if you like that restaurant quality, if you overcook shrimp, it'll be in the shape of a circle. If it's perfectly cooked, it'll be in the shape of a C. With lobster and crab and crawdads, if you will, as soon as they get that red color, that bright red color, they're done. Go ahead and give our noodles a stir here. Make sure they're not sticking to the bottom. Now these noodles do take an awful long time to cook. It does not take long for this cheese sauce to come together once it's melted, and once it is melted, go ahead and add your garlic, minced garlic to it. Just gonna keep that on the warmer for now. Keep it melted, since that's already done. If you don't have a warmer on your stove, I suggest waiting to cook that until your noodles are about 3/4 of the way done. Like I said, it takes a while for these noodles. If you like them al dente, that's fine. When I first started cooking these noodles, it was an experiment. I cooked it as long as I would normally cook regular flour enriched flour noodles, and they weren't nowhere near done. And so periodically, every 4 or 5 minutes, I would take one out, cool it down, bite on it, and you just find out where the cooking time is. Every stove is different. For home stoves, these noodles are just about there. I'll go ahead and turn those down. Turn my lobster water up, get it ready. Got my strainer ready for my noodles. If you don't have one of these, get one. They're awesome. They're a lot of help in the kitchen. Okay, so lobsters. As far as prepping them, lobster tails, prepping them before you cook them, give them a good rinse off with ice cold water. Hot water makes it tougher when it's done cooking. Cold water is the way to go. And you want your water up to a boil. As soon as it comes up to a boil, throw your lobsters in, put a lid on them, and 5 minutes, they'll be done. Go ahead and take this off the heat. It's okay to have your macaronis prepared ahead. Not really going to hurt. And you traditional pasta cooks out there, you don't have to add the water to the sauce to thicken it. It's really not needed. Noodles. If you guys haven't noticed, this is my first video, so comments would be a lot of help. I'm going to go ahead and pour my cheese sauce over my noodles. Stuff's pretty good. I can hear the water simmering in the pot. Means it's about ready to start boiling. Okay. Sauce to noodle ratio is pretty much what you would get out of the box. You know, all that yummy goodness. So you remember that I started out with this thing 3/4 of the way full of dry noodles, and now for size comparison, it's filled this bowl up, this large bowl, almost halfway. You don't need a whole lot of noodles. For those of you who are cooking with your family, of course, you would use a whole box of noodles. I only used about 1/3 of the box of noodles. You know the term, the watch pot never boils. That's where I'm at right now. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and call it. It's at a pretty good low simmer right now. And there it goes. It's boiling. Alright, so same thing that I did with the pasta water. Season the water a little bit. And then what I'm going to do is grab my tongs because I don't want to burn my hands. I'm just going to put them both in there and put it on the lid. I know my lid doesn't fit my pot. I couldn't find the lid that fits. And keep in mind, whenever you add something cold into a pot or pan, it does lower the temperature of the pan and whatever else is in that pan. Whoa. Whoa. Should have turned that down before I did that. You can smell it. It smells like lobster. It's delicious. Well, at least you know it's authentic home cooking. It's not home cooking unless you have a mess. Alright. I think I've done enough torturing my stove. Like a shrimp, you want it to be a C, not a circle. Circle means it's overdone. C means it's cooked. All right. Again, C, not circle. caught eye. Now, if you ever wondered how restaurants dress their lobsters, just regular upholstery shears. Now, I suggest doing this with either heat retardant gloves or a pair of tongs like I'm using. What you do is you cut along the back, not where the legs are, but the back. You're making a seam all the way down to the tail. Like that. I don't know if you can see that. Just make a seam all the way down. And then what you can do is, if you have gloves, use your gloves. That's a lot easier with gloves. But if you don't, barehanded. Peel that shell off. If you cook it to where it's tender, it will peel right off with no problem. If you overcook it, it will stick to the shell. Look at that. It's beautiful, beautiful, just beautiful. Then once you get that meat out of there, you should be left with a chunk about that, depending on the size of your lobster. Do that with both tails. Again, cutting along the back, making a seam all the way down the center of the back to the tail. And then you just peel it back. Give that a good rinse off. Bought these at a local store. Obviously, they were not cleaned properly before they were on display, but this one's actually a pretty good size. Nice and tender. And again, you know they're tender when they come out of the shells easily. If they don't, you overcook them. Okay, so let's go ahead and finish our dish here. Just gonna cut these tails straight down the center. Going to be cutting them straight down this line. Then you're gonna stack the pieces on top of each other. And then you're just gonna give them a quick chop. Doesn't have to be pretty. It's gonna be mixed up with the noodles. Quick stir in the noodles. And for us bariatric patients, this meal is going to be your stage 4 meal. If you're not on stage 4, you can make the cheese sauce, or if you're stage 3, you can make the cheese sauce and cook the lobsters. Mix those together with you can use mushrooms as your medium replacing the noodles, or whatever suits your taste or your stage. If you're stage 1, which would be a liquid diet, you can make the cheese sauce, and then as far as the lobster, you can puree it to like a paste and add it to it. But then by then you're not getting the benefit of that of any of that lobster texture. It'll be the cheese will overpower the lobster at that point. So I wouldn't suggest trying to make this if you're stage 1. Stage 2, again, you can substitute the noodles for mushrooms, depending on what your doctor recommends for your stages. The general recommendation, this is a stage 4 meal. I'm currently in stage 3. My wife is going to be enjoying this a lot more than I am. I'm just going to get the cheese and lobster at this point. So yeah. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Like and subscribe at the bottom. That helps me make more videos. And again, comment. Leave me comments, good, bad. They both help a lot. If you have any suggestions, again, leave a comment below. I would love to hear all the feedback from you guys, and make some more of these videos and share these videos with other bariatric patients out there in the world. And I'm doing this to help you guys. And again, this actually helps me too, keeps me on track. All right, guys. You guys have a good day, weekend, holiday, whatever you want. And I'll see you again soon.